Hey Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs Podcast, presented by Blue Moon, made brighter. Get Blue Moon delivered. To see delivery options by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Happy Monday. Cody, Delmendo, Ryan Herrera. The sun is out. It's like 60 plus degrees in the great city of Chicago. Here in March, we're 17 days away from opening day. Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell are still free agents. Hard to believe. Jameson Taillon is hurt. Justin Steele is your opening day starter. And that's the show.
Yeah, we got a lot. We actually have updates to talk about.
We do actually have updates to talk about. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Again, we're getting there. We're almost to opening day. I think at this point, if the roster the Cubs have assembled is basically it. But who knows? Things could change. But I think we should start the show with Jameson Taillon's injury.
Yeah.
You can correct me on all the little important details, Ryan.
Sure, I'll have to.
Yes, because I don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. Jameson Taillon was warming up for his start that was supposed to be on Saturday, I believe.
Yes.
Through like 10 bullpen pitches, warm-up pitches.
Mm-hmm.
And then his back, he had some lower back tightness. I believe it's lower back tightness or just back tightness in general. And he was scratched, and we didn't know what the update was until after the game when Craig Counsell talked about it. And I believe eventually came out that him being ready for opening day is kind of in jeopardy.
So the reports out of Arizona, lower back tightness, because he already dealt with, he had like some calf issues. I don't know if it's tightness or soreness or whatever it was, but the reasoning for delaying his start, obviously this is a different issue. Lower back tightness is what we've heard from the reporters out in Arizona. But yeah, Craig Counsell, I believe, talked Sunday morning, basically saying that he's not feeling any better than he did Saturday, which was the hope that he would come back and it would kind of have subsided.
Sure. That
he wasn't feeling any better. And yeah, like you mentioned, like now his status for opening day, which obviously he wasn't going to get the start on opening day. That's Justin Steele, but
sure.
His status for just the beginning of the season is in doubt at this point because they don't. While the report was that the Cubs don't see it as a long-term concern. Are not concerned. Yeah, not concerned about it long term. That's what Craig Counsell said. It is. We're getting to 2.5 weeks until opening day. He was still building up, obviously. So any time missed the rest of spring will set him back in that buildup. And yeah, it does. It does affect his ability and his availability for the beginning of the season. How long that could last, we don't know, obviously. I believe that they're getting imaging done and seeing just kind of what the next steps are. Mm-hmm. But it does affect how his availability for opening day and for the beginning of the season and whether he can be in that rotation or not to start the year.
Yeah, I forgot to say this at the beginning. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button for all of us. I know we finally went over the 50,000 subscribers. Matthew Gregory pointing out Bragg's and Carm's loud ping pong game going on in the background. That's what we do here. Me and Ryan have these intense matches as well.
We do. Usually without a show running, though, but every once in a while that happens.
The only reason I do bring up the chat is there's a lot of Jordan Montgomery, need to sign Jordan Montgomery. And I think it's because we're talking about Jameson Taillon. Mm-hmm. I think if it was a little bit more serious, like if Taillon's injury was a little bit more serious, like if it was an arm issue, something like that, I think that maybe the Cubs would be a little bit more aggressive on it. But Sahadev Sharma, I believe, wrote today that the reality is that the Cubs don't appear to be real contenders for him. even though it's made all kinds of sense. You don't lose a draft pick if you sign him, all these things. Obviously, we've talked a ton about Jordan Montgomery this entire offseason and even going to the spring since he's still available. Listen, I'm here for the idea of getting him, but at the same time, you already got 3 lefties likely to be in your rotation in Steele, Imanaga, and Jordan Wicks. Yeah. Likely. Jordan Wicks likely to be in that last spot. Now, if Jordan Montgomery was a right-handed pitcher, perhaps. But my thing is that at the end of the day, I still think Tyone his injury just isn't as serious to a point to where you have to do whatever it takes to get a guy like Montgomery or Snell. I would be okay with it. I've been on board for them all offseason, but here we are. It is March 11th, and neither of these guys have been in Cubs camp. I understand that they've probably been working out. They've been doing whatever they do to ramp themselves up, but they haven't worked with any Cubs catchers. They haven't worked with the coaching staff or any of that. And to me, and I kind of tweeted this the other day, like, it kind of gives me Craig Kimbrell vibes, man. It kind of does.
Craig Kimbrell was a lot later into the season.
I acknowledge that, and I agree with that. I'm just saying that, like, I'd feel a lot more on board for this if it was like 2 weeks ago. And listen, I'm not even trying to convince people to agree with me. I'm just saying that, like, to me, it's simple. It'd be a lot more simpler if he was a position player. He's a pitcher, though. And I also, again, Jordan Montgomery, a lot more proven. Blake Snell, obviously, a lot more proven. But when you already have enough lefties and you have the depth in the rotation that I think the Cubs are obviously high on, and I know Craig Counsell was high on, I just don't see it as like you have to do this.
Well, yeah, I mean, so when we were still in Arizona, the conversations I had with Cubs people, obviously Jed Hoyer talking at Cody Bellinger's press conference, the feeling we got, and basically what Jed Hoyer said was that right now, or at that point, the expectation was the team was kind of set, right? Mm-hmm. Like maybe if a deal presented itself that they just couldn't pass up, at that point in time, the team had been set. They liked what they had on the roster. Obviously, they liked their depth. They liked the young players that they have, and we're going to run it out with that. And Tyone, the injury, especially considering, again, we're looking at it as the Cubs don't think it's a long-term concern. He may have to miss a few starts to start the year. They don't look at it as a long-term concern. So I don't think that makes it any more urgent to go out and sign Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell. Again, I would believe that if a deal they really like and just can't pass up were to present itself with those either of those two guys, I think they would go do it, not because Tyone's hurt, but because it's just an upgrade to the roster. Yeah. But I don't look at it as any more urgency to go out and sign either of those two guys because Tyone may miss the start of the year. Now, you made the point about the lefties, and I know Craig Counsell he said it, throughout spring training, just about his idea of who is in the rotation is just who can be the best at getting outs, who can,
fair,
who's going to go out and get us outs and cover innings and help us win, put us in a position to win. That was Craig Counsell's message, and obviously with Tyone, and now depending on who may be in the starting rotation to start the year, he told reporters over the weekend that he pretty much reiterated that message, but specifically about handedness, and like he's not really looking at it as a lefty versus righty thing. It's just who's going to go out and give us the best chance to get outs and give us the best chance to win. So, that's not, again, not ruling out a Montgomery or Snell signing based on handedness, but it's also not ruling out who may join the rotation now if Tyone misses the start of the year. Right? You're looking at it as Justin Steele, Shota Imanaga, and Kyle Hendricks are your locks. There's 2 more spots open without Tyone. You said Jordan Wicks, who I felt the same way going in, was probably the favorite to get that 5th spot. Now there's another one open. It could be Jordan Wicks and Drew Smyly, right? Drew Smiley's had a pretty solid spring. He's added a couple pitches that he's growing more comfortable with, that he did the whole thing with Driveline, right? Could it be that Wicks and Drew Smyly are starting the year in the rotation? It's possible, right? Wisniewski or Assad are also in that mix. But right now we don't have a clear idea who's going to be in there, right? So it's not about handedness. It's about who the Cubs feel can just be the best at getting them outs.
Yeah.
And even without Tyone, they do still have a small group with that depth that they feel like, okay, Tyone may be out to start the year. How can we kind of weather that storm? They still feel good about what they have behind him and being able to fill it.
I will say this. If they did sign Montgomery, I personally think that would just push Jordan Wicks out, personally. And they would probably insert one of these other guys. That's what I personally think that would happen, at least to start the year. It wouldn't be a complete thing, whatever. But that's just how I feel. As far as like who should go into the rotation for his spot, which at this point I'm assuming will be 1 to 2 starts. That's what I'm assuming. Maybe
we have no idea though.
No idea. Again, no idea.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm assuming 1 to 2 starts just because he has yet to make a start this spring, right? So depending on if he is able to make a start or not, which who knows, I'm thinking he's going to miss 1 to 2 starts, 3 to 4 at most, which would just be like April, I guess.
Yeah.
To me, I think I would like the ass man to be in that spot. However, I think based off what Craig Counsell has said about Wisniewski, he might get that opportunity.
Yeah, he likes what he saw out of Wisniewski, but, there's also Caleb Killian. He liked what he saw out of Caleb Killian. Didn't mean he was going to start on the opening day roster, but, there's things happen in baseball. What Craig Counsell says one week may feel differently, or, things might change. Injuries happen, right? Knock on wood. I'm not saying I want it to happen or anything, but, stuff happens that you may have to pivot to a different plan. I think 2 things worth noting with the rotation, just based on how it stacks out. I don't think it matters in the long run because you have opening day, then the next 2 weeks, so until the next, through the following 2 Thursdays or whatever it is, so 2 weeks, there's 3 off days on the schedule. Cubs have 3 off days on the schedule, which means they can kind of use that to play around with the rotation a little bit, juggle some things, where they're not going into it really with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's also the fact that, Imanaga's coming from a league where they had more of a 6-day rotation type stuff. And not that Craig Counsell has ever said he's not that a 6-man rotation is going to happen for the Cubs, but there may be times where a guy gets that 6th spot in the rotation, right, quote unquote, where he just starts in the middle of that rotation, just to, and not even just for Imanaga, but for other guys, right? Maybe another day of rest, another day of recovery, just kind of mix and match those kinds of things. So there's ways for the Cubs to maneuver around these things, whether it's because of those off days or having other, some starting pitching depth of guys who can get a little spot start here and there to kind of mix things up and spread things out a little more. That's all possible. So just because we say, just for example, Jordan Wicks and Hayden Wisniewski are in the rotation to start the year, just because that happens doesn't mean that Drew Smyly is never going to start a game. Javier Assad is never going to start a game. And again, we don't have no idea how long it's going to last. It could be 2/3 to the rotation, and that's it, right?
Sure.
So, it's it matters, right? It matters who's starting pitching because, and we'll talk about the domino effects of it in a sec, but it does matter who's in the rotation to start the year, but it ultimately long-term probably doesn't, because I think you may see multiple guys that aren't in the rotation. They might get starts early in the season too. Just the way that things might play out, you might see other guys get starts too versus whoever the starting 5 is to start the year.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of talked about it before too. Craig Counsell, while in Milwaukee, it's not like they just used 5 guys. They went multiple people, and it wasn't and it wasn't because of injuries, because they were trying to, preserve their arms.
Yeah, you
get
guys through the whole season.
It's just not how it used to. It's not even like how the Cubs did it in 2016, where they were honestly gifted so much good health.
I mean, they had 5 guys basically start 30 innings. I think 4 guys started 30 games. Like another guy did 28. I don't remember exactly who it all was.
And I'm not saying this only for the Cubs. Like, in today's game, like, I mean, we're seeing all kinds of injuries throughout. I mean, Garrett Cole has to get an MRI now. Sonny Gray's going to miss the start of the year. Cody Senga is, I believe, in jeopardy of missing opening day. All kinds of other guys. The Edward Cabrera for the Marlins. He didn't even throw a pitch yesterday and had to come out of the game. Like, there's been so many pitching injuries throughout the league here in the spring that having the depth that the Cubs do, in fact, have is actually very, very beneficial. And listen, is Drew Smyly better than Jamison Tyone or Jordan Wicks or whatever? At this point, based off what we saw at the end of last year when he was in the rotation, and going into this year, based off what we saw from Jordan Wicks in that month, and what we even saw from Jamison Tyone in that last month or two, second half of the year. No, of course. Like, I definitely have more faith in the other two than I do Drew Smyly. However, he has made starts throughout his career. You did mention the whole thing about him going to Driveline. I think he's working on some things. He had a nice start the other day, and listen.
Yesterday, he had a good start right before Wicks had a really good outing in the
Y'all in the chat love to bring up results in spring training as they being real sometimes, and listen, I don't. I'm just saying, though, that as at certain starts this spring where Drew Smyly's gotten lit up, he also looked good the other day. So it's
even the getting lit up, it's like afterwards you realize, okay, yeah, he was actually working on specific things.
Sure.
Right?
So I guess my point here is that you're not going to get 20-plus starts out of Drew Smyly this year. He's going to make spot starts throughout the year no matter what, whether it's injury or not. It's going to be a mixture of him, Javier Assad, Hayden Wisniewski. Most likely, those are the three guys. And Caleb Killian might have been able to force himself into that conversation if he stayed healthy, which is unfortunate for him. But I guess the other name that I could throw in there probably later in the year would be Cade Horton. So, again.
Potential. Ben Brown maybe.
Ben Brown as well. I think that if you're worried about the rotation right now because of Tyone's injury, I think what you should take solace in is the fact that they have the depth and they have a lot of young depth with upside that we've seen guys have success. We've seen Wisniewski have success. Has it been consistent? No. We've seen Javier Assad have success. Has it been more consistent than Wisniewski? Sure. But also, he's still young. He has to prove that he can continue to do what he's been doing, right? Drew Smyly, better in the bullpen last year, but he did have a stretch as a starter where he was pretty good.
I thought his 2022 was actually pretty good, too.
That too.
Overall.
He almost threw a perfect game last year.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I think that in the grand scheme, you're okay to start the year with what you got. And you obviously, and I'm going to have to say this, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say this a lot, is that the Cubs are just going to have to prove that they made the right decisions on not going to get a Jordan Montgomery or a Blake Snell. Like, at the end of the day, they're just going to have to prove that by winning, right? Yeah. If they don't win with the guys that they have, then yes, we can sit here and, criticize the Cubs for not, doing whatever it took to put a good roster together, especially if Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell end up going wherever and are good, So it's a tough line to have to thread, but, to me, I've said this all offseason. I'm optimistic about the pitching. I was not nearly as optimistic about the offense most of this offseason, but I've been optimistic about the pitching, in my opinion. So I'm okay that they're going this route, most likely. Things could change, right? If that somehow ends up being Montgomery is just going to end up getting like a 1 or 2 year deal, maybe I could see the Cubs being in there. But at this point, I don't think that they're going to do it. And some aspects a little frustrating, in some aspects that's okay, because I'm okay with what they have coming up, and I'm excited to see some of these guys get an opportunity. And I feel like whether you add him or not, you're probably still an 88 to 89 win team max. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So before we get off Tyone, I kind of want to just talk about the potential domino effects that it could have. And I actually wrote about this in the newsletter coming out tomorrow. So make sure you subscribe to that. Make sure you become a diehard, because they're not going to be for free available to everyone forever. So become a diehard. You get a whole bunch of other perks, but you get to hear me wax poetic about the Cubs as well
brother.
in a newsletter. So, like, you look at the domino effects. Just like, how does that affect the rotation, as we talked about? You're probably looking at that group of four, Wisniewski, Wicks, Steele, and Assad, in filling in those last two spots. But how does that affect if you're looking at the rotation, right? Like, obviously, if it's Smiley and Wicks, what happens to Assad and Wisniewski? I think you're probably looking at Assad. I would probably feel he's more likely to end up sticking around in the bullpen, and Wisniewski goes to AAA to continue staying stretched out in a starter schedule. I probably tend to think that's more likely than the opposite. And same goes for, like, if Wicks or if Wisniewski makes the rotation with Smiley and Wicks ends up going down to AAA. I think those scenarios are pretty close together. But then you also have the scenario of, say, Wisniewski or Wicks make it one of those two along with Assad, right? Then Smiley moves back to the bullpen, and then whoever's the odd man out of the other three probably goes down to AAA. I think that's what we're looking at. But then you think about the bullpen, right? If Drew Smiley's in the rotation, that takes away one of your main lefty options for the bullpen. What does that mean for the rest of the guys, right? Is Luke Little all of a sudden like a lock to make the opening day roster because he is the only other lefty relief option on the 40-man roster right now, right? Does that happen? Is someone like Edwin Escobar more likely to make the opening day roster, make the team, to add, if Smiley's in the rotation, to add another lefty option into that bullpen? That's something you consider too. Now, say Smiley doesn't make it. Obviously, he's back in the bullpen. You have one of your lefty options. You probably only need one more. Maybe that's Escobar. Maybe that's Luke Little, whoever it is. But you have your lefties in there. So then again, as I said, like, say it's Wicks and Wisniewski. Assad, I feel like Assad probably moves into the bullpen. I'm 50-50 on it. Like, I could definitely see him sticking around in the bullpen as a multi-inning reliever, but I could also see him, if he's the odd man out, going down to AAA and staying stretched out a little bit. Like, I'm 50-50 on what is more likely, but I could see scenarios where either one is possible, right? But then,
sure.
So it all goes to, it's going to have a domino effect on the bullpen, obviously on the rotation, but also on the bullpen, just because guys who could have seen their start to the season in the bullpen may now be called upon to start the year in the rotation. And now with that, you may see guys who weren't as likely to make the opening day roster, that their shots to make the opening day roster have probably gone up a little bit depending on the outcome of the rotation competition, right? So it's going to be interesting to watch the next 2 weeks just to see who kind of starts emerging, what's coming from Craig Counsell's mouth, where you can kind of read between the lines and think, okay, this guy's really starting to emerge as like that guy that's going to get one of those spots in the rotation. It's going to be interesting to watch the next couple of weeks just to see what happens and see how that Taillon injury, again, if he does miss the opening day, miss the beginning of the season, because that's not yet confirmed. But if that does indeed happen, like, how does that affect the rest of the pitching staff? That's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about at the beginning of last year about how, you felt like the Cubs had good pitching depth, but we really didn't get to say that we did until, they put Assad into the rotation when Stroman got hurt. Certain guys getting opportunities. It kind of took a while to see that kind of play out. Yeah, I think, and maybe that's on David Ross, maybe that's on the front office for whatever reasons. I think Craig Counsell has. I think he's got at least, we have to at least give him a chance to figure this out, right? Like, this is why he's the highest paid manager in baseball, right? Like, I think a lot of us have a little PTSD from David Ross in terms of this topic. But, like, Craig Counsell is the manager, and everyone wanted him. We all dreamed about it. We didn't think it was going to actually happen, but he's the manager. And so to see how he is going to make this thing work with the guys that he has, I think we have to at least give him that chance. So at this point, I'm putting my hope all in him, because I guess I'm basically kind of forced to. But yeah, that's where I'm at. We have a super chat as well, Sarah, from Chris Piguero. Shout out. I know he's a diehard. $1.99 free agency is hitting me like a bus, but go Cubs. Yeah.
I'm sure he's talking about NFL free agency.
He is talking about NFL free agency. And I saw our friend, the Godfather, talking about how MLB needs to learn needs to learn from the NFL and how to make free agency more fun for baseball offseason. And I could not agree more.
It's going to take a lot of working on the MLBPA to ever make it close to that.
You're absolutely right.
We could talk about it later at a later time, but there's definitely a conversation to be had about that, which we've actually had a couple times on the show.
Yeah,
and I've written about as well.
The next segment, we're gonna have Ryan talk to Justin Steele out of Mesa, so stick around for that. But first, let me tell you about CIRCA. CIRCA Sportsbook. It's my favorite app that I open up every day, outside of Game Time and other ones. I have a long list of our favorite sponsors. Right. One reason I like CIRCA, they got tight money line splits. Games strive to be a -110 split on the CIRCA Sports menu, unlike other sports books which may use a -115 or -120 split. CIRCA keeps as little money as possible on large market bets, especially compared to other books. CIRCA Sports does not limit players based on their winnings. Every player has the same limits, unlike other books who do limit winning players. They encourage bettors to download and explore all sports betting apps available and compare the lines from each sports book. And you'll see that CIRCA has the best lines. Finally, their customer service is the best. You know why? Because they don't use chatbots. I can't stand chatbots. I really can't. There are real people behind the CIRCA Sports brand who resolve the issues in a timely fashion, unlike other books who use chatbots. All aspects of the app are being run by the same team that runs the main CIRCA Sportsbook at CIRCA Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, the second greatest place in the world. Wrigley Field is just above it. All right. Download the CIRCA Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Also, be on the lookout for CIRCA events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, text GAMB to 833-234, or visit areyoureallywinning.com. You can get your sports betting on. You can, March Madness is coming right. It's right around the corner. We got the Big Ten tournament. You said fortunately?
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. What do you mean unfortunately? March Madness is one of the greatest.
No. I love March Madness.
Just because it takes over your life for a whole weekend?
No, because my team's a joke this year. Anyways.
Your team's a joke? My team finished conference 0-18.
Your team doesn't even exist.
My team
I'm talking about the teams that actually
and you're complaining about your team being a joke.
Sarah's a Kansas fan.
Where did
Hunter
Kansas
Dickinson left
end
the
up?
game the other day. She's in shambles. But I will say that there's with that possibility.
They're 22-9.
We just got beat by 30 by Houston, which I already knew we were going to lose, but I didn't realize we were going to look that bad.
Houston's also a really good team.
You're right.
I
guess I was bringing this around because you can just watch all these games like everyone does during March Madness with a nice ice cold blue moon. All right. There's nothing I would rather do on the first day of March Madness than crack open not one, not two, not three, but at least 6 or 7 blue moons while watching college basketball from 11 a.m. till midnight. While all these schools that lose get their hearts broken, you see all the kids crying and seeing all the guys who win get all excited. And listen, as an Illini fan, I know I'm ready to be hurt sometime in this month.
Yeah,
so.
my as Landon Herm points out in the chat, I am a Mizzou fan, and Mizzou does suck this year. It's very hard to watch. But I will watch whichever. I think they're playing Wednesday. I feel like that'd be the playing game for the SEC tournament. And I will watch it. And to help me get through it, I'm going to crack some blue moons.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to crack some
blue
moons.
They might finally get that SEC victory, man.
I wouldn't go to CIRCA and bet on them, I'll tell you that much. But I will crack a blue moon. Blue moon, we love blue moon. It's made brighter. Get Blue Moon delivered and see delivery options by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Again, that's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
I'm sure our guy, Justin Steele, I know he's an Alabama football fan, but if you follow him on Twitter, he's just a giant sports fan. He'll tweet about I've seen him tweet about the NBA, obviously college football.
Who's this?
Justin Steele.
Okay,
yeah. He's a huge. We know he's a huge Alabama fan, Alabama's probably going to have a high seed in the NCAA tournament. I'm sure he'll be tuning in, following it from afar. He was named the opening day starter over the weekend for the 2024 season, and I think it was only right that we'd share this interview today. So when you talked to him, obviously it was before this because it was, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I think it was right the Monday before we left, right after actually the news broke of Cody Bellinger signing. So
yeah,
I got that in there. But yeah, it was a couple weeks before he was named opening day starter, obviously, as well. We were still out in Arizona, and talked a little reflection on 2023 and some of the goals he set out to accomplish. Kind of looking forward to 2024. Asked him what it means to him to be called an ace, which is interesting, and just a bunch of different things. Shota Imanaga, Cody Bellinger, the pitching staff or the pitching prospects coming up, what his thoughts on that. So
sure,
a lot of good insight from Justin about just kind of how he's looking at the season and just kind of how he's looking at the overall environment around the Cubs right now.
All right. Well, I have some thoughts on Justin Steele after this. So Sarah, hit the show.
All right, Ryan Herrera of CHGO Cubs. I'm here with now recurring guest, friend of the show, Justin Steele. Justin, how's it going today?
Doing good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's maybe not the best day out here in Arizona, but we are back in Arizona. It's a couple weeks into spring training now. How are you feeling? How'd the offseason go for you, and just how does it feel to be back here?
It feels great to be back. See all the faces, old faces, new faces in the clubhouse. Spring training is always a good time of year just to get accustomed to your teammates, your new teammates, old teammates, see familiar faces. And yeah, spring's going really good. Through my last live BP yesterday, so I'll be in games 4 days from now.
So you're coming into this season, coming off 2023, and I think, by the end of the season, a lot of people are calling you the ace of the Cubs, the ace of the staff. What is a name like that, the ace, the way people look at you like that? What does that mean to you?
It really means a lot. I'm glad people look at me in that light. That's a really good honor and everything. For me, I don't necessarily look at it like that. I kind of look at it as I just want to be a guy, the team, fans, everyone can depend on to go out there and give you quality innings each time out. I just want to be known for my consistency, and last year I put a lot of work towards that, and did a pretty good job of it, and I want to do a better job of it this year.
And I know you had goals going into last season. How do you feel like you accomplished some of them? I know one of them was 180 to 200 innings. Maybe another start you would have got that 180, but you were that close. How do you feel like you were able to do what were you able to accomplish in terms of those goals?
Yeah, I accomplished a lot of stuff I wanted to. It was a really good year and stuff. I wanted to get to 180 innings. There was the 2-start break I had earlier in the season, so I think I definitely could have got to the 180 without that hiccup, or if I had another start. So I was on pace for right where I wanted to be. And, I just kind of want to repeat what I did last year, 33 starts, and get over that 180 inning threshold, possibly push 200.
So what are you looking at 2024 as? Again, a sort of could be called a breakout year for you in 2023. How are you viewing 2024? How are you viewing the rest of the spring and going into the season?
Yeah, I just want to make sure my body and everything's in a good position for the season. We did a good job of that last year. We worked really hard last off season for that season, and we did a lot of similar things this off season. As far as working on myself, I did a few things. I did a lot of work on my sinker, or my two-seam and my changeup. Just to have 2 more offerings. I want to get them pitches to the confidence level of my other pitches, and that would just open some more doors for me, have more doors for success.
So you look at the rotation and where it's at now, I think we can probably pencil Kyle in there, Jameson in there. But another guy that we're looking at who's in the rotation now is Shota Imanaga, right? A big signing for you guys out of Japan. A couple weeks into spring training now, how have you seen him kind of gel in that locker room? How have you seen him in his work? I know you tweeted that one time right before we got down here, that his stuff is nasty.
Yeah.
What are you seeing from him right now a couple weeks into spring?
He's already very comfortable in the clubhouse. Everyone talks to him every day. Everyone enjoys, being around him. He's a great clubhouse presence. I think he's going to be a lot of fun. I think he's going to end up being a fan favorite. He's just really good energy. Really good vibes about him, and the stuff kind of speaks for itself. Just a really good heater, really good breaking stuff, and then has a good changeup / splitter to break off of everything. He's a whole package, and I think it won't take him long to figure out like how to pitch in this league.
And what does a guy like that bring to a rotation that was pretty good last year, and now you're adding him and what he brings? Is how does that affect the rotation right now?
Yeah, just the 1 through 5. You think of like a 1 through 5 rotation, and I would say a lot of the guys we have, it's you roll them out there and you feel pretty good about winning the ball game that day. That's what you want throughout an entire rotation. You don't want it to be top heavy, back heavy. You kind of want the whole rotation to be able to go out there and want to win a game any given day, and I feel like that's exactly where we're headed.
So now, I think the big thing that's happened recently is Cody Bellinger being signed. You guys have all talked all off season just how much you enjoyed having him around, whether it was in the clubhouse, on the field, and just what he brought to that club. Now he's back. Now you kind of have a more clear idea of what the roster looks like going into the season. But just for him, just again, what does he bring to this ball club right now? A year after he went through all those. The battles with you guys last year, the ups and the downs, the roller coaster of the year. What is having him back, bringing that guy back do for you?
There's something to be said about somebody that you went through a battle with. Towards the end of the season, we were grinding, trying to get in the playoffs, and he was a big part of that and stuff. It just to have that gel and that mesh already beforehand, and now it seems like you're bringing in a free agent, but it's just a guy you played with last year. It's really cool, and it's good to have him back. Everyone in the clubhouse is super excited to have him back, and I mean, we all saw what he did last year and how important he was to the team, and we all expect him to do it again, and we envision ourselves being in a really good spot because of it.
So it is a little bit of a different feeling, as you said, when you're kind of bringing back one of your own versus because in theory, right, bringing a free agent in should be a good thing.
Yeah.
But when it is one of your own, there's a little bit of a different feeling to it.
No doubt about it, because, you instantly just think back to last season and, being in the locker room with him all the time, having those conversations, getting to know him as a teammate, as a person and everything. And, it means a little bit more. It's a little more special when you bring somebody back.
Yeah. Another guy I want to ask about is Adbert. One of your good friends. We talked about it a lot. You guys went through most of the system together at the same time, or close to the same time. Him getting that chance to close last year, I think early May was when he kind of moved into that role. What did you see out of him over those last few months of the season and just attacking that role really thriving in it, as we all saw?
Yeah, you said it right there. He just attacked the role. He grabbed it by the horns. That's just the kind of person he is. He grabs anything in life by the horns and attacks it head on. That's the kind of person he is. He's a competitor, and he's one of them guys you want out there at the back end of the game, shutting the door, closing games out and stuff. And I'm one of them people, when it comes to Adbert, I believe in him 100%, no matter what the situation is. You could roll him out there to start games. The guy was a starter. He's that talented. He has that good of stuff, and the competitor and the person's even better. And
I look at it as, you guys are a couple of the guys that have been in the system for a while on the pitching side, going through it. And
10 years now.
Yeah, 10 years. You got going on 10 years. So now, maybe over the last decade or so, there was this kind of idea that the Cubs couldn't develop pitching. The Cubs couldn't, bring up homegrown guys. Obviously, you and Adbert are a couple of guys that are helping to change that narrative, but there's a lot of young talent in the system already debuting. Jordan Wicks is one of those guys I have in mind. Just what have you seen as far as the evolution of this organization pitching-wise, and just how a lot of these guys are starting to come up and look like real potential contributors?
Yeah, I would say there was a switch in the narrative around the pitching and the Cubs farm system and everything about the time being Adbert started getting to the big leagues and started having success. I don't know if it was part due to guys seeing homegrown guys get to the big leagues with Cubs, and it kind of made it seem more feasible and stuff. I remember coming through the minors, and the guys in the big leagues were just studs. Yu Darvish, John Lester, Jake Arrieta, Kyle Hendricks, just names. So it seemed like the big leagues was super far away, because you're looking at those guys there's no way I'm taking one of their spots. But I think the switch happened. You start seeing me, Adbert, Jordan Wicks, other homegrown guys get to the big leagues with the team that drafted them, the Cubs. I think it kind of opened up a little more, not wiggle room, but like it just kind of seemed like it was more feasible to get there. You could do it quicker and stuff like that. I think that could have played a role in it. And I just think the overall talent level in our farm system is really good right now too. I mean, we got so many guys who, like, I would say is like big league talent ready, and you know, we're in a good spot because we have a lot of guys that are in that position, young guys who are proven, that are already here. So it's going to be an interesting year.
And obviously it seems like the player group is kind of set. You got a lot of contributors either that should be on the roster to start the year or coming up at some point throughout the season. But one of the other big things that happened this offseason was the switch to Craig Counsell at manager. One, what has it been like getting to know him and what he brings to a ball club? But two, you know, as the coaching staff is getting set, finding out that guys like Tommy Hotovy and Daniel Moskowitz we're going to be sticking around, and as far as the pitching side, continuing to work and building that relationship.
Yeah, I'm loving Counsell so far. Everyone is. Camp's been running smoothly. Everybody's enjoying it. We like what we're working on and stuff. I was really excited to have Tommy. You know, that was kind of my first thought when the news broke, was kind of like, all right, like, is this going to be like a complete overhaul? Is this going to be, you know, just him? Is a few guys staying? So I was really excited, you know, when a lot of the pitching staff was coming back and stuff, especially Tommy. Me and Tommy just have such a good connection at this point. You know, he's been here when I was called up. He's worked with me through my career and stuff, so we have a good understanding of one another.
Got a couple more for you. Just overall, fans want to know what to expect out of the 2024 Chicago Cubs. What would you tell them if a fan asked you that right now? What would you tell them to expect?
I would say right now, you know, just on paper, I would say we're better than we were last year. We got the young guys coming up who are going to contribute at some point during the season. That's going to be a big help. Getting Bailey back's obviously a huge help. Puts us, you know, we had him last year, so that's production that we're going to be bringing from last year. And we just have a lot of the same guys in the clubhouse, and we just have a really good bond. You know, it's like Counsell was saying, it's kind of like a spider web in there. You know, there's each corner of the clubhouse, everyone's connected, and I feel like that's the way we're headed.
Last one, I know you're a big football fan, and people in Chicago want to know, what should the Bears do with the #1 overall pick?
I think I'm like on the minority with this. I've been saying keep Fields and do trades in the direction of getting help around him, like trade the #1 pick to somebody that wants it and maybe get 3 picks in that first round, maybe get some like offensive line help, maybe grab one of them top 3 receivers. I think that would be a good start. Like, get one of them top receivers, good offensive linemen to protect Fields, and then the defense is always good. The Bears were a lot of fun to watch last year, and I really enjoyed watching them. And I think, you know what you got with Fields. You know, you got a uber athlete. I think they keep building around him, but I'm not in that position to make those calls.
And I think we're both happy we're not in that position.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that would disagree with you, but a lot of people that would agree with you.
Yes, no doubt.
But that's why we love doing this stuff. All right, Justin, obviously, thank you for joining us
Thanks
again.
for having
Great
me.
to have you. For CHGO Cubs, I'm Ryan Herrera. We'll talk to you later.
All right. We'll get back to that here in a second, especially that last part. I'm sure a lot of people have thoughts on that. But first, listen. If you need new flooring, you better listen up, all right? With Empire today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats. But Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, speed. So competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. All right, they keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles. Their virtual floor designer is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy, just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Shopping for floors at a big box store can be frustrating. You might talk to someone who was working in plumbing like Ryan yesterday. Flooring is all Empire does. They live and breathe flooring. so you can be confident you're getting honest, upfront advice. They pride themselves on their convenient shop-at-home service. They help customers shop for floors where they use their floors so they can see exactly what their new floors will look like in their home's lighting and decor so they can make an informed decision. Service, their own warranties. If an issue does arise, just call Empire. They service all warranties themselves. You won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount, which can use when they use the promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/CHGO for details.
Can't beat $350.
Oh man,
in
this economy,
steal.
Brother, don't get me started. All right,
steal. Because you save $350 and you can use at least part of that to go to Game Time and get yourself some tickets. You know what I'm talking about? I was looking at it just right now, and you got plenty of stuff even just this week. You got Bulls and Mavericks tonight at the UC, the Anaheim Ducks at the Blackhawks tomorrow night, Tuesday night at the UC, but even Cubs home opener, April 1st. It's coming up.
17 days. That's like 20 days.
That's like 21 days. 17 till opening day. I think 21 till Cubs home opener.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
Don't let the facts get
Rockies Cubs at Wrigley Field. But
Chris
then you have that
Bryant's
whole
return.
first week. Yeah, another Chris Bryant return. But you got that whole week. And the tickets, the best deals you'll find around with Game Time. No doubt about it. So you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event like the Cubs home opener if that's your cup of tea. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I just mentioned it, but the ability to view your seat on the app, or just and you get the picture of where you're sitting. I think that might be my favorite thing about Game Time.
God, there's it definitely lets you know that this is where you're going to be sitting. And that makes it easier to decide if you want to spend, this or this. Like, you want to sit 2 rows closer? Do you like the cheaper price in the back? The view is all about the entire experience.
Yeah, exactly what your view is going to look like. So if you don't love it, you got other options, and you're not going to be surprised when you get to the ballpark or the venue, whatever it is. You won't be surprised. They also got last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. It's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Again, see the view from your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. It's got all-in prices that show your total up front so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees. And then you can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Game Time is obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right at the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. You find those exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. With zone deals, you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
All right. We got about 9 minutes. We can probably go a little over since the Sox are, at 4 o'clock, Sarah? 5? So we have time. All right. Because there's a lot to break down from the Steele interview, and then there's some other roster things I wanted to mention.
I'm getting a lot of great interviews, by the way.
We are, and credit to Jay for mentioning that in the chat.
He's not the only one. We got a few.
He's the one that I noticed. He gave you specifically.
Susie.
We've
had a few of them. Yeah, look at that.
Dubs, that's my guy.
I'm sure he was talking about me.
Yeah, obviously,
Yeah.
as the Justin Steele stand that Mike Dubs is, I'm sure he was definitely talking about you in that instance.
For sure.
Kybert, that's Hawaiian Ryan from Everett.
Oh yeah.
Credit to y'all. All right.
But yeah, Justin Steele.
So I always love this guy's demeanor, I guess, or just confidence that he has, and for me, sometimes it's kind of mind-blowing because his journey just wasn't it wasn't some clear path, man. Oh. And that's something that I truly respect out of him the most. And I'm excited to see what he can do in 2024. I don't know if he can be as effective. I don't know if he can be the all-star pitcher. I don't know if he'll be in that Cy Young race for, over half the season. But I do know that the type of pitcher that he is, the bulldog mentality on top of like the fact that he has a great defense behind him, he gets a lot of ground balls. I certainly believe that he can have another successful year. Yeah. What about you?
No, for sure. We talk about it. He had so much success basically pitching with two pitches, and I know one like the fastball has the ability to manipulate it a little bit and make it seem more like two pitches. But we're talking about a fastball slider guy who did a great job limiting hard contact, getting a lot of ground balls, limiting barrels, all that kind of stuff. I don't see that as something that, I think someone asked in the Discord actually earlier, another diehard perk, so make sure you're signing up to that. You get access to the Discord. But someone asked, like, if, are we worried about Steele, the league figuring him out, that kind of stuff? And no, not really. I think the pitches are really good, and it's something that I actually mentioned earlier in the offseason. Like, I think there's still levels he can get to if he starts to add a third or fourth, more secondary pitches that he gets comfortable with. Mm-hmm. I think Craig Counsell's talked about that. Tommy Hodavy's talked about that. Steele himself talked about that. Like, there are still ways he can improve on the game. And with that, he continues to evolve as a pitcher. He continues to add things that hitters haven't seen before, other teams haven't seen before. I think he has got a really good shot at doing that. And we're talking about he's 28, I want to say right now, going on 29 this year. So he's not necessarily young, but he's not, he's still on the right side of 30. Like, he's still got room to grow at this point in his career. And you mentioned his journey. He said it in the interview himself, like 10 years in the system with the Cubs, going on 10 years now since they drafted him. And we're talking about only being a year. We're talking about his 9th year in the system where he finally breaks out for the full year and is like a Cy Young candidate, right? Like, it's a very long road. Dealt with the injuries. Tommy John surgery obviously was one of them. And just kind of the ups and downs of later on the 2020 season, losing that. 2021 still kind of figuring out his role, and then 2022 breaking out that second half of that year. So, no, I think he had a winding road, but that teaches you who you are just as a person, obviously, but as a pitcher for Justin. It teaches him like how he has to grind things out and how he has to learn how to be successful, especially at this level. He's gotten there now. Like you said, I don't know that he'll be top 5 Cy Young finisher. That's really hard to do, but I do think we can see a repeat of next year. I think we could see him be even better. I think that we can still sit here at the end of the season, whether that's the end of September or into October. We'll sit here at the end of the season. I do believe we could sit here and say Justin Steele had another really awesome year, a year that solidified him as at least high-end number 2 guy, if not a good number 1 guy for this team to build around. I totally think we can sit here and say that because he proved it last year, and he proved it not with elite velocity and striking out every guy he saw, but because he has great command, great control, good pitches, with the ability to get swing and miss too. And so I think there's a really, really good pitcher in there. Of course, it's up to him to go out and do it again, right? That's something he's talked about. It's something they talked about at the end of the year. I think it was David Ross actually saying that, you have a great year, but the great pitchers, or you have a great year, but when you get to next season, it doesn't matter what you did the year before. The great pitchers are able to go out again and do it again. They're able to go out and do it again. Year after year, stacking on really, really good seasons, and that's how you get to the end of it, and you're looked at as a great pitcher. So that's Steele's task. But like I said, like I totally think he can go out and do it again and have another really good season. That what he did last year for a long period of time helped the Cubs get back into that race and almost sneak into the playoffs. I think when we're sitting here, if the Cubs are a playoff team, he's totally going to be a huge part of that.
Yeah. I think my big question for him is, he's getting a little bit more national attention now. I saw MLB, not necessarily network, but MLB's like official Twitter account, like whether it was last week or maybe the week before, I'm getting all my days mixed up at this point, but they put out like a top 20 pitchers list, and Justin Steele was on it, and he deserved to be on it. But last year, the amount, like on social media, at least last year, I saw a lot of people get upset because Justin Steele wasn't getting that national attention from anyone during his Cy Young race, right? So I'm interested to see how he pitches with this new, recognition from the national media. I'm excited to see.
It's not necessarily new. I mean, he was an all-star last year. Like,
listen, I'm just saying, like, he went into last year we were hoping he would just continue to build off 2022. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. To me, it's more about, okay, can you do it 2 years in a row?
Well, that was my point, is like, he has to be able to go out and do it again and stack another really
good
season.
But he really was getting kind of disrespected from the national media last year. No one was talking about this guy as the season went along. And so, like, now he's getting more of that recognition, deservingly so. And so, like, I just want to see him be able to continue to do that with more eyes on him. I think certain players with less eyes on them, they do better, whether it's whether you're a position player or a pitcher. I do think that there is a certain aspect to that.
I don't think he having talked to him so much and being around him the last few years, like, he's definitely not a guy that gets too high, too low with things.
That's good. And I don't necessarily think it.
Like, honestly, there's a lot of times where after a great start and then after a bad start, like, his demeanor talking to us post game is pretty much the same. Like, you notice it. So as far as that, the added attention and kind of stuff like that, I don't look at it as something that's really going to affect him.
Right.
I think as far as mentality, he's got that bulldog mentality. He wants to go out there and be really good. And whether there's a million people watching or one person watching and it's me up in the press box, like, I don't look at that as anything that's going to really affect him too much.
Sure. All right. Well,
we'll see. We'll see, right?
We'll see.
He's got to go out and prove it again. But it does seem like that extra attention, whatever it is, probably won't matter as much to him because of the mentality he has.
Mm-hmm. Evil Wax says Steele is pretty confident with his abilities, and I think he's going to shove this year. I agree. All of what I'm saying is that it doesn't take away the fact that It doesn't take away the fact that I think he's going to, be really good for the Cubs this year. It's a big deal that he's getting this opening day start. Chris Kampka, newly hired at Marquee, tweeted over the weekend that he is the first left-handed pitcher drafted by the Cubs to make a start for the Cubs or make an opening day start for the Cubs, which is like wild.
Because Lester was like the last lefty.
But he was like a free agent signing, and he was the last one.
I couldn't tell you any lefties prior to Lester.
I couldn't either, right? So, like it's, I think it's a big deal for him to be able to get this opportunity. So credit to him. Before we get out of here, I wanted to mention some of the roster cuts that came out over the weekend. Obviously, PCA is probably the biggest one that is on this list. Him, Ben Brown, Luis Vasquez, and Brendan Davis optioned to AAA. Michael Arias, Porter Hodge, and Kevin Alcantara optioned to AA. And then Chris Clark, Sam McWilliams, Brad Wick, Ethan Roberts, Riley Thompson, Pablo Aliendo, Matt Shaw, and Owen Casey were signed to minor league camp. Mm-hmm. None of that's really surprising. No. I will say this, and I don't want to go on some long tangent because we can't sit here forever because I could do this for another 15 minutes. But the roller coaster it's been to watching fans react to PCA is kind of wild, bro. Some of y'all get so high on him, and then some of y'all get so low on him. The dude's, 21 years old? To me, it's not surprising he's going to AAA, man. No. I pretty much said all offseason, if Cody Bellinger is signed, that he's going to probably start the year in AAA. Yeah. And sure, he had some moments this spring that probably didn't look good on him or whatever. Again, I don't take any of the results seriously, man. I kind of said it earlier. Drew Smyly had a good outing the other day, but he's also had some duds too. I don't know what to really think. I still pretty much feel the same way about him. Hayden Wisniewski kind of got lit up a couple times. His last start, pretty good. But I don't know. It's the spring. None of it really matters at the end of the day. And usually about a month or two into the season, we all sit here and we're like, man, spring training really doesn't matter. So all I'm saying in relation to PCA is it's not surprising he's going back to AAA. And anyone who's calling this guy a bust already needs to go step outside on your balcony or wherever you are.
Breathe the fresh air.
And breathe some air, man. Come on, brother. Come on.
We've seen it from PCA, just going through the system. just the adjustment period when he gets promoted, a little bit of an adjustment period, figures it out. He's hit really well at every level, but even AAA, right? He only had 158 plate appearances. He was up there for a little over a month before getting that call to the majors, and 158 isn't like a teeny tiny sample. Like, it's a pretty solid sample, and he was an above average hitter, according to WRC Plus at the AAA level last year. So. Knowing that, I do think it is, especially with Bellinger in the fold now and being able to handle center field, that it is, or at least could be, in PCA's best interest to start off in minor leagues or start off in AAA, just continue to play every day, get more at-bats at that level, really just get through that period, and force the issue, right? I think he will at some point. I think he will have played so well at AAA that it's like, you can't not have him in the major leagues anymore. And Craig Counsell said that too, whereas he loves the work PCA does. He loves the attitude and the mentality. But there's a point where you have to force your way to play, and that's the test for PCA, is just make it, knock the door down to the point that these guys can't let you stay in the minor leagues any longer. He has that potential. He's the number one prospect in the system for a reason. Number one prospect and a very good farm system for a reason. So
number two, according to MLB Pipeline, that came out over the weekend. Now, on the flip side, Michael Busch hit 2 homers over the weekend, and it's sad that Barb is not in the chat today. Yeah. I was really looking forward to bringing that up to her. So it goes both ways. Like, how much can you take into Michael Busch hitting 2 homers over the weekend into, like, how good he's going to be into the season? You really can't. You know what I mean? And so that's why I go back to PCA, the fact that he basically, struggled a lot this spring, right? To me, it just really doesn't matter. All right? So I agree with what you were listing the numbers about AAA. I kind of talked about it in the video I put out over the weekend. Like, he was great in AA last year, got the call, got 158 bats or plate appearances. All the numbers that he had in AA went down to AAA. So, like, he hasn't even proven that he can be a sustainably good player at the AAA level yet. I think he can. I think that this offseason, him working with Dustin Kelly and this experience he had in the spring and the experience he had in the majors last year was definitely good for him. All right. The thing is like, I think a lot of us still have this, like, you watched Anthony Rizzo, you watched Chris Bryant, you watched Addison Russell, you watched Javier Baez, and you saw them come up and kind of just steal your heart in terms of becoming exciting players that made this team good. And just like, prospects just are not like that.
Not all the time, at least.
Not all the time, at least. And so I think a lot of people who are down on PCA right now just need to step back. All right. I'm not trying to tell you how to fan, but, like, I think it's way too soon to be saying bust. All right.
He's a prospect, man. It's guys, development's not linear, is what Theo Epstein always said. Like, guys take some time, and a lot of guys come up, don't have the kind of success they need, but learn things about what they need to adjust to and what they need to do better. So, as Jed Hoyer said at the end of last season, as he said again, I think on the first day of spring training, like, coming up in September, having the struggles, having the issues, going through all that may end up being the best thing for PCA, because now he knows what didn't work at the major league level, at least in the small sample. So. Yeah, give him time.
So that's that. The other thing, I guess, related to rosters, Shaw and Casey being assigned to minor league camp, which just
also not a surprise.
It's not a surprise, and it rules out any chance of them making the opening day roster. Correct? All right.
Yes.
So
which there
wasn't really
basically no chance.
There was no chance. I agree with that. I didn't think there was any chance. So I'm still intrigued to see what the Cubs do with this probable open 40-man spot that Caleb Killian once he goes on the injured list. Intrigued to see what happens there. But at the end of the day, like, they have had great springs, and they are pushing themselves to be on the Cubs sooner than later. And I look forward to those days when they come. But anyway, that's it. Jared Willis will be in Arizona tomorrow. He's like, if no one knows who Jared Willis is, he's kind of been like our
He's another rider with us.
He's another Ryan.
He hops back and forth, Cubs and Sox.
He helps the Sox out. He helps us out. But he's going out to Arizona tomorrow. And
through the end of the week.
He'll be through the end of the week. He'll be out there for the spring breakout game.
Yep.
Recording
some stuff for us.
He'll be joining us remotely over these next couple days. So tune in for that. Obviously, we're 17 days away from opening day. So continue to watch this team, see who's going to win spots and all this stuff. This spring has been very intriguing. I feel like I keep saying that, so I expect that to continue for me.
Yeah. And so you said 17 days to opening day. That means 17 days to become a diehard.
Well, you
got plenty. You got more than that, but like become a diehard before opening day. You got 17 days. You get 20% off of events like the takeovers we'll have throughout the season. Even not even just Cubs stuff, other stuff coming throughout the Bears stuff, Wolves stuff, whatever it is, different events.
Right. Go ahead.
20% off merch. You get access to the player database that Jared and I put together. That is diehard exclusive. It's got bios on every 40-man guy, which is recaps from 2023. Previews for 2024. More additions are coming this week, I promise. So that'll continue to be updated. So you get all that. And I mentioned the newsletter earlier today. That's coming out tomorrow morning. Still free and open to everyone, but it won't be that way throughout the season. So make sure you're becoming a diehard and getting all that kind of stuff.
Did you mention the Discord?
The Discord is awesome too.
Yeah.
I did not mention the Discord, but that's
the Discord is right now it's a happy place because people are just excited for baseball, but it can be a roller coaster in season.
Yeah. And I mentioned the discounted merch. I think Sarah just put up the Chicago collection that we have, and you can go ahead and get yourself some of that. It's amazing. Everything on there looks awesome.
It's incredible. Plus, I'm sure we might have some new Cubs merch coming out soon. At least this is what Merchel was telling me the other day. Can't confirm, but that's just what I was told. Also,
were you supposed to say that out loud?
He didn't say that I couldn't, so I don't know. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Okay.
I just pulled a Luke with the Blackhawks guys at one time. Also, and I can say this, someone asked in the chat earlier about like opening day meetup. We will have an opening day meetup. Like it'll be like a watch party and a post game show at this place, and I believe it will be at Country Club in Wrigley. So stay tuned if that is changed, but I pretty like 99% sure it will be at Country Club in Wrigley on opening day when the Cubs take on the Rangers. So yeah. All right.
I think that's it.
That's it. Also, the Sluggers is changing their sign, and I don't hate it or I don't like it. I can talk about that more on social media, but I just had to add that at the end. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. We will see you tomorrow, 3:30.
3:30, be there.
Be there. Fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.